How long does it take for your company to activate a new customer? Nuvo helps LBM suppliers get customers ready to buy on house accounts in minutes, not weeks, not days. With instant verifications, streamlined job sheets, and real-time credit insights, your team can start loading trucks while your competitors are still checking references. Check out Nuvo. Reach out to the team at nuvo.com, that's nuvo.com, to learn more. Hey there, I'm Thea Dudley, also known as the Credit Overlord, and welcome to LBM Talks Credit. We are the only podcast that talks trade credit in the lumber and building material space. Never miss an episode, stay tuned, and we're glad you're here. Hey, today we are exploring the intersection of credit management and cybersecurity threats here on LBM Talks Credit. I'm Thea Dudley, your host, also known as the Credit Overlord, and we're going to talk about how LBM pros can protect their companies and sanity from digital disasters. And with us is one of my absolute favorite people. I love to hang out with Joe Bonanno, owner of Archetypes SC. He is down here in South Carolina with me. Myrtle Beach resident, which makes me incredibly jealous, and probably one of the most seasoned cybersecurity experts in the country. And Joe, you have the best, most terrifying store of terroristic tales that, as a credit manager, make me feel better about my job because yours sounds so much more horrifying.
Oh, it is. Every day. It just gets worse and worse.
It makes me feel better, though. So we're going to do something a little different today. We're going to play a little quick fire Q&A called Cyber Myths, True or Totally Ridiculous. Are you ready?
I am absolutely ready. It's going to be fun.
We'll see. I don't know how much fun it's going to be for some of us because when I put this together, some of them I'm like, this sounds like, what's wrong with this one? All cyber attacks involve a hoodie-wearing teen in a basement.
No, they don't. Typically, they don't involve a person at all. 99% of attacks are automated. They're robots that are out there looking for exposed credentials, exposed devices, and running through algorithms to try and compromise your business.
Okay, so the robots are taking over.
And that's not to say that there's not a hoodie-wearing teen somewhere learning how to write these scripts, because there are. Every time a new breach and a significant dollar amount hits the web, it introduces a whole new base of people to, hey, I can make millions at this. So here's my new business enterprise. I want to learn.
That's always the picture, though. You see a hoodie-wearing teen in a basement. Yep. Okay, question number 2. Two-factor authentication is just a hassle.
It is a hassle, but it's also a necessity. If it becomes part of your daily workday, then you just learn to accept that you have to do it. There are also ways that your IT team can set things up to make it better for you. So we call this conditional access. If you're working in an environment that is secure and known and trusted and has the appropriate protocols in place, then maybe we don't have to two-factor you every time you log in. When you leave that location and you go down to McDonald's, per se, or Starbucks to go get your coffee and work from there for a couple hours, we are absolutely going to say you are no longer in a safe environment and you need to re-authenticate and make sure you are you. We certainly don't recommend connecting to unknown Wi-Fis, but two-factor is one of the best ways that we can protect ourselves.
Okay, next question. We're too small to be a target.
No such thing. Does not exist. There's no such thing. The robot does not care if you're a one-person company or a 60,000-person company.
And we're going to dive into that a little bit deeper because I'm going to get you through the rest of these questions because some of these are super fun. If we don't store credit card info, we don't need to worry about security.
Completely false.
Fax is the safest way to transmit sensitive information like, payment, credit applications.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
No, it's the front of the salesman's truck, where it's just put that on there. Cyber insurance will cover everything, so we're cool.
No, and that's one of the biggest misconceptions about cyber insurance is most people think they pay for a policy and you get completely protected. But if you don't look at the details of what your policy states, There are requirements that you must adhere to, and there are things that are not covered. In a lot of cases, ransomware is not covered because of how the act is committed.
So the insurance is just like every other insurance. It's there as a feel-good thing, but when you go to use it, it's like, what?
Pretty much.
Nothing's covered. Thanks a lot. Our vendor's tech guy said their platform was secure.
I always take that with a grain of salt. I typically will ask for verification of that through some type of audit or assessment. When we're using external vendors, we should be looking at how they comply with recognized frameworks like NIST, which is the National Institute of Security and Technology, I believe. Their framework around cybersecurity is one of the most well known. And if you don't have compliance with that, then you don't have compliance.
How about texting customer data is fine as long as it's just between us?
It's never just between us. All these, yeah, this is one I don't advocate for sending customer data in that way. All of our conversations, our email conversations can all be monitored. All of those things can all be attacked. All of those things can all be compromised. So we need to make sure that we're doing it in a secure way, and verifying customer information via text is not a good way to verify it.
Nobody here at our company would fall for a spoofed invoice.
That's not true.
That is like the nicest way I think I've ever heard you say that is we're just going to move on from that. We hold training once a year to keep employees educated and the company protected.
And that's an awesome starting point for all of us. That's an awesome starting point. There should be more training going on than just once a year. The insurance companies will often say you need to do a minimum of an annual training. And some of those annual trainings are pretty good. Some of them are not, but reinforcement on a monthly basis and developing a culture of security is something that needs to happen at just about every organization.
So we talk about, there's a lot of talk around phishing, smishing, any kind of ishing. And the question always comes up, well, how does this happen? How did you not see this? But everybody is busy. So walk us through some of those common threats like phishing, invoice fraud, ransom. I mean, you said ransomware, smishing, and like I said, all the other kind of ishings that I don't even know. How does that happen? And
so phishing is largely automated. It's sending out emails with fill in the blank information. Generally, they're in the past they were awful. You could easily identify what was bad, and they were typically, this is your Microsoft administrator, you need to change your password, click here. Microsoft will never ask you to change your password in that manner, nor will they provide a link for you to go and change your password. They'll want you to enter your URL into your browser and go through a normal login process to do it. Smishing takes us out of email and goes into SMS texting. So these are the fun ones of the most recent one I got was there's an outstanding warrant for your arrest. You have unpaid traffic tickets in Florida. Click here to resolve this matter today.
I had toll charges down in Texas.
Toll charges.
I haven't been in Texas for years.
And those are ones that most of us have traveled on a highway, and most of us have gone through a toll at one point in time, and we're very familiar with EasyPass. So it's easy to fall for something like that and go, oh, I don't remember whether I went through that toll, and clicking on it to see what it is. The reality is that EasyPass and those providers won't contact you in that method, especially if you don't have an account in that state. So
so you just magically got that.
A lot of these are, when you sit back and you think about them, they're like, well, duh. Of course, that's not true. But when you're rushing through and you see something that says you're going to be fined $250 if you don't take care of this in the next 24 hours, it creates that sense of urgency. And we do things that we normally wouldn't do when we're panicked and not thinking through what's in front of us. And that's one of the largest challenges that we face, is taking a moment to breathe and understanding whether it's true or not.
Well, so that kind of brings me to something else that always I hear this a lot, and I know this is one of your giant pet peeves because you hear this so much, especially in the line of work that you do. It's the why is the it won't happen to us mindset so dangerous and expensive and incredibly naive for people to think that it's not going to happen to us. And until it does, you just don't believe it's true. It's like mail fraud or any of those things. It didn't happen to me, so it's cool.
The "it's not going to happen to us" crowd are the largest target of this type of fraud and these crimes because they're unprotected. They're not taking steps to make sure that they are protected. They're not following best practices. And in a lot of cases, most of their users aren't trained to even understand what to look for. So they're the ones that fall for it the most. And it's incredibly sad. I field calls all the time of, well, we sent a payment to X. I paid my bill. Why is my company still saying that I owe that money? And, well, you paid somebody, but you didn't pay the person you owed the money to. And it's, well, that's not my problem. I paid the money. You still didn't pay your bill. So you're still
Yeah, I didn't get the money, so it ain't happening.
and those types of situations are tough because in a lot of cases they put a contractor out of business. Especially inside the construction industry, we see this very, very frequently where an ACH payment for a significant amount of money goes to an incorrect person, and now you still owe your bill, and now you can't make payroll. And it's the spiral that comes from that. And insurance is not going to act quickly to get that money back into your pocket. If they act at all, if you have coverage for that type of thing. But in most of these cases, it's the first question they're going to ask is, did you verify the information before you sent the money? And your response is going to be, no, I just sent the money.
One of my favorite stories that you told that I absolutely would love for you to share with our listeners is when a company president is like, no, we're good, we're totally good, we have everything on lockdown, you could never. And it's like, okay, challenge accepted. And you basically walk into somebody's business set up like you work there, nobody questions you. So I'm going to let you tell the story because I thought it was so cool. I
Yeah.
loved this, and it was horrifying and fascinating to me at the same time.
And the more horrifying part about the story is that uh, it was a bank. It was a large bank. It was a new system, and they were very proud of what they built. This was a corporate headquarters, a data center, and a customer service center. And in this instance, the tester, the penetration tester, was tasked with gaining access to that headquarters, gaining access to the customer service center, and gaining access to the data center. His first day on site, he walked in with a group of individuals, was able to walk right past security, go through their secure gates with the group, and get on an elevator and go up to the top floor of the building. That individual proceeded to sit there, plug into their Wi Fi or into their network in a conference room. He sat in that conference room all day undisturbed, collecting data points.
So nobody questioned him. It's like nobody walked by and went, "Who's the new kid sitting in the conference room over there?"
He walked
He's
in.
not wearing a hoodie, so he's got to be cool.
Exactly. He was dressed appropriately. He looked like he belonged there. In a lot of offices, a lot of enterprise offices, you have consultants in the office on a regular basis. So these people are not unusual to be there. But he sat there all day. He set up man in the middle attacks. He gathered information off their servers. And when he left at the end of the day, he attended 3 retirement parties on his way out. He walked in, he celebrated with the employees, he gathered merchandise, company logos, business cards, employee IDs, access cards, the whole 9 yards as he walked down every floor of this building. He walked out. The next day, he went to their customer service center and did the same thing. He sat outside talking with a group of smokers, walked into the building, was not impeded in any way, sat down at a customer service desk, and matched his targets that he set up inside of headquarters. The next day, he went to their data center and made it through 7 locked doors and plugged his USB drive into one of their servers, which was his end goal, was to get that in place. When he delivered his findings to the CTO's response was, "Well, we didn't know you were coming."
Yeah,
And
because that falls under, "Hey, I'm getting ready to hack or rob you or whatever I'm doing. I'm gonna be there at 11. Can you have, like, maybe a snack and a cold drink for me
yeah,
because, we wanna make this a fun event?"
and when this is a combination of attacks. So you have an intruder coming into your building. You have unauthorized attacks against your network that he's performing. Uh, Insider threat is probably a bigger challenge for an organization like that than several other things. But the fact that the CTO's response was, "We didn't know you were coming." So he said to them, he said, "Fine, I will be here next Thursday to test
And
again." So next Thursday came around. He brought in a friend of his and he walked up to security, said, "We've got a KPMG auditor here to audit some systems, and I need to speak with the CHO, the Chief of Human Resources." They paged the Chief of Human Resources. They came down. They escorted him up to the building. Uh, they conducted a very thorough investigation with him, with that individual. They then asked to see the chief security officer. The CRO or CHO walked him over to the CSO's office. They sat down, had a chat with him in the security operations center, looking at their screens. He then asked the CSO to page the CTO and have him come to the office. As soon as he walked in, he said, "What am I doing here? You knew I was coming today. You knew I was going to be here. I didn't give any fraudulent information. Why am I sitting in your office today?"
and that CTO
That
said?
that they didn't have an answer. That's a complete failure of the processes that they put in place to secure their building. And it's amazing that type of thing happens. Frequently, we'll walk into a business and we'll walk through that business unimpeded to wherever we need to go. Nobody stops you and asks you who you are, what are you doing,
Do you
any
think
of
it's
those things.
because people are polite or they're just busy, they don't wanna seem confrontational, they don't wanna, "Hey, you, who are you? What are you doing here?" I don't.
It's uncomfortable for a lot of people when they see somebody they don't know to walk up and say, "Hi, my name is Joe. Why are you here?
Okay, well,
Who
not
are
in
you?"
credit because nobody comes near us, so it's like
Yeah.
if you're coming our direction, we're like, "Who are you, and are you here to help? Are you staying?" Which, so now I wanna talk about the top 5 dumb ways that AR gets hacked.
Hmm.
And, those are some things that, as I kinda went through and we put this stuff together, the first one was the copy and paste that whole copy and pasting, using the same password for everything. And, I'm the worst. I will use the same password for, like, a million things, and then I change it by, like, one number, and you and I have talked about that, and you have told me in pretty much this language, I'm an idiot and I need to stop doing that. So I've tried to be better and use some different tools because convenience apparently equals no common sense and you're lazy and you're just a big target.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about
So
the password mess.
here's why utilizing the same password, and it's interesting that we bring this up because we're about to put an article on our website about password managers and why you need better security around your passwords.
We will make sure to get a link down below to that so
Absolutely.
that it's easy for people to find.
Absolutely. So I'll start off with a story because I love storytelling. In a company that I worked for many years ago, uh, IT had implemented a 60 to 90-day policy on password resets. So every 60 days, you had to reset your password. One of my friends at the company, he was a director at the time, eventually moved into a VP spot there, raises his hand and says, um, "Well, I think this is silly. Why can't we just create strong passwords and deal with it? If you're asking me to change my password every 60 days, all I'm going to do is put a 1, and then I'm going to put a 2, and then I'm going to put a 3." So those types of changes inherently are insecure because it's something that's easy to.
So password 1234 is not a recommended
Password one two
move.
three four is not a great password, and people have come up with varying strategies. So I've seen a password dash the month year. So April 2025 is going to be 0425, and next month it's going to be 0525 at the end. And we've moved away from recommending regular changes because it creates a lot of hassle for people. Now you have to remember a new password. It's annoying, and it doesn't create security. What creates insecurity is then taking that password and putting it across 400 different accounts. And the reason why is if one of those accounts get compromised, I'm going to take your username and password and I'm going to run it through everything that's out there. I'm going to hit your LinkedIn. I'm going to hit your Facebook. I'm going to hit Instagram. I'm going to hit your banks. I'm going to hit everything I can with that username and password combination and see where it hits. And sure enough, it will hit somewhere. Now, creating a different password and managing it through a secure password manager, you get compromised at one account. It's only one account that got compromised and not all of them. Now you don't have the work of updating all of those passwords. You only have to update one. And by meeting or exceeding their minimum standards, you put yourself in a good place. So our recommendation is always minimum of 12 characters, preferably whatever the maximum is for that system. And then something that's easier to remember. We prefer phrases today over other types of things. So think in technology and specifically in design. When you look at fonts, there's the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. It's something that's easy for me to remember, and it's about 30 characters. Now, I'm not saying I use that as my password for anything, and I wouldn't recommend that as a password, but working off things like that and then introducing numbers, special characters, and other things to replace different things gives you a very strong base for a password.
So that you're going to kind of go into that because password manager, even that when I first looked at it, I was like, oh God, here's one more thing I got to jack with. And again, I know I am like the worst at this because I passwords are like my nemesis. They're
And one
irritating.
day they will be gone.
And well, yeah, and
Not
one day, my account will be hacked and I'll be crying to you going, help me fix this. But it's the finding those password managers, that to me was overwhelming. So I appreciate that we'll be able to dive into that in the article. Second one is the reply all of doom, accidentally sending sensitive customer data to the entire sales team, the janitor, and a weirdly suspicious Gmail address that definitely wasn't on the CC list when it came in.
Yes.
How does that happen? And then how did that one like random address get in there? And now I'm
Well,
not in a good place.
somebody had to put it there. So it didn't just magically appear. Somebody had to have added that in. It probably wasn't seen on the initial email when it came in. But certainly it's a training issue. If we're sending out sensitive customer information, we should never be doing a reply all. We should be doing a standard reply, and we should be verifying who we're sending that email to before we send it. I don't know of any financial information that needs to be sent reply all. There's also better ways to manage that data, and it could be asking individuals to log into a specific system where they can see that data rather than sending it out through mass.
I'm anti-reply all anyway because the people that will send, you'll send them something and they send thank you back and they reply to all. It's like, seriously, that's just falls into pet peeve, not anything to do with hacking. It's just nobody's looking for more emails. So can you not, I'm just going to assume you're grateful to get the stuff. I don't need you to send me a thank you. And everybody on the email got the thank you too. So that's just a pet peeve, has nothing to do with hacking.
Absolutely.
It will help them. It will help kind of cut down on that.
I'm very much in that same camp, and a lot of it is training individuals not to hit reply all and not to send that type of data in that type of way. That's the easiest way to fix the problem is training.
We're going to get to training in a little bit here because you say training is the easiest way. Joe, training is hard. People are unique and awesome individuals. They, depending on who you are and how you approach things and what your capacity for change is, training sometimes feels like the hardest thing. It's like, I have told you not to hit reply all like 15 times. why don't you write it on a sticky note and paste it to your computer so that you remind yourself, hey, don't do that because I can't keep having this conversation with you.
Yeah. Well, and that comes into performance reviews. So certainly,
You're not getting a raise because you can't figure out how to not use the
ex-
reply all button. Man, we're going down a dark hole here. We're going to move on.
we are, but and it's more than just watching a video and attending a training class. It's how our managers support our employees and how they empower them to make appropriate choices and how we approach them about the things that they're doing wrong and correcting those actions. So it's difficult, uh, especially when it's somebody who is not supportive of change. But in
I
some
like how you
cases,
worded that, not supportive of change. Okay, I literally just you're like, look, girl, you are the company mule. You have sat down in the dirt. We are dragging you by the halter, and you are just absolutely fighting it every step of the way.
I had an individual at a client that did not want to implement MFA, did not want to put the application on her phone because it's her phone and the company doesn't have access to that, which is legitimate. That's fine. You don't have to put it on your phone. The fallback from that is your manager is going to have it on his phone, and you've now lost your remote privileges because he is not going to be texting that number to you or supplying it in any way but in person.
Fair
So
enough. It's like choices. These are
choices
your that's
you can
cool, but
install it. You can install it and do it, and it'll be great. Or you can report to the office and inconvenience your manager in addition to creating a lag time in the job that you're supposed to be performing.
who said tech wasn't making everybody's life easier?
Yeah, you know,
All right, let's go to number 3. And I nicknamed this Fishy McFish Face. And that is the clicking on the urgent invoice attachment open right away from somebody who claims to be your CFO, your CEO, head of HR, somebody new there. Pick a big title that might rattle somebody in one of your accounting departments. And then suddenly they have this aggressive interest to purchase 5,000 iTunes cards immediately, and they want you to email it to them.
I've got a couple stories around this. My latest one, and I shared it with the nice membership uh, at our last meeting, was an email that came into our accounting group that had me on the CC. It was a very well written email. It was for executive consulting services. They attached their 1099. They had a fabricated conversation between me and the individual at the company about this being approved and to email accounting and all of the things. And it was amazing how well this was done. And I could understand any accounting group falling for it without proper training. So in this instance, it was I want to say a $13,000 charge. So it wasn't a significant amount of money. Not to say that $13,000 isn't significant, but for executive consulting services, for a program to be implemented, for some type of training, it wasn't out of line for what you would expect. Everything was there that should be there. If you went to the individual's LinkedIn profile, it was all correct, but it was all fraud. The only thing that was out of line was the email address that was attached to it uh, inside of the two. So the two read as the person's name. The email address attached to it did not match. That was the only thing that did not match.
Wow, that is some elaborate. I mean, you have to really do a lot of steps to create all of those things, to have it all attached like that.
Yes.
So the next one, I know like a lot of credit departments are getting hit with, hey, here's upgraded tech, here's software, here's all the things that it's going to make your job so great. It's going to take the transactional out of it. And I think that's true in a lot of cases. But I also like to call it the vendor blues because you're assuming that if a vendor tells you, oh, our software is secure, that it's true. And I'm going to remind people, most of them tell you that the training for their software is going to take 30 minutes, and that never happens.
No, no. So we've been pushing an agenda of verification through audit and assessment. So if somebody says their technology is legit and audited and all of that, they'll have a paper trail that's attached to that.
Okay.
Who did the assessment, the results of those assessments, or at least a summary of those assessments, are all things that can be shared.
As the credit manager is, interviewing these companies, would they just ask, okay, is it secure? All right, tell me how it's secure.
Yeah.
What is the question they ask? It's like, well, show me your paper trail.
Yeah, they can ask for if they've had a cybersecurity assessment done and what were the results of that
Okay.
assessment. If they could share uh, the provider that performed the assessment so that they can verify results. Um, in most cases, most companies would probably be hesitant to supply the actual results, but they will give you an audited executive summary of those things.
Okay.
So you've got your MFA in place, you've got all of these different pieces in place, and where you have issues might be redacted or removed. But there are ways to certainly ensure that that company has the appropriate protocols in place. Asking questions about MFA, about antivirus, about backup and disaster recovery, about all of these different tools that they should have in place to be a secure work environment.
See, and that's because tech and the cybersecurity is not most people's first language. It certainly isn't mine as a credit
No.
professional, which makes the whole job a little bit more complicated now because not only do I have to be good at, I got to know about mechanics lien rights, I've got to know about joint checks and running checks on people and payments and collections and coaching my team. And now I've got to be a somewhat
Cybersecurity expert.
educated, I've got to know these questions to ask. So yes, tech has made your life easier in a lot of ways, but it's also complicated it from the fact that if I'm not educated, which brings us to our fifth and last one of those, trusting but never verifying, where you let maybe one new person, maybe you have a new hire and they're just charming and they seem really well and they came, you liked them enough to hire them. And now you're allowing them to set up payment terms, sending out your wiring instructions, releasing orders, and you don't even pay attention to it. You're like, well, we trained them, they're good. I'm super busy. I'm buried. I don't have time to babysit people. And
Yeah.
then that could be that guy that walked in and, now all of our money's going to Jamaica.
Ongoing training and process. So we see a significant amount of business email compromise, where an email is sent to an accounting group that says, here's our new ACH information. Please update and send your next payment to the following below.
Oh,
It looks legit. It's from a company that you've worked with. In some cases, we've seen that information added to an email chain that already exists, which means that that company already has somebody on the inside that's doing something they shouldn't. Um, Within the legal community, they've now moved away from accepting wire transfers or account information over email, because they were seeing emails being changed on the fly. As in, I
okay.
send an email to you with my ACH information, and by the time it gets to you, it's been changed. And those are
Wow.
typically man in the middle attacks. You've got something going on, you've already got a compromise there.
Oh,
And it's frustrating for the businesses. So within the legal community, we purchased a house about a year ago. They gave us a specific portion of the wire transfer information. Then there was a code that would be given that day to complete the wire transfer. So it was an interesting solution. It would only come via that meeting, and you would have explicit instructions on who you were talking to prior and who was providing that code. So it was a verbally face to face conversation where you were given that code and to complete the transfer.
wow.
Uh,
That is, well, it's just so amazing that kind of leads us to what can credit managers do to kind of stay ahead of this because you're balancing due diligence, tech adoption, internal training. It's what realistic tools or protocols that won't blow the budget. And when I talk about budget, I'm talking about time, resources, and of course, money, and make the poor credit person who's doing this like have some sort of internal meltdown. If you were creating a cyber checklist that every credit department should have in totally non-tech, non-corporate speak, what what would be on that list?
The first thing is for any changes to any account would be a verbal confirmation of change from a listed contact on that contract.
Okay.
So when we put a contract in place, you have specifically a project manager, an account manager, and a billing manager. If any of those terms in that contract were to change, a phone call would be warranted to confirm those changes, to confirm that any changes that were requested were legitimate, and things of that nature. So it's a trust but verify. If you see something that comes in, we would never send to you, hey, we're changing our ACH information. Here's our new ACH information. Please make sure that you handle it appropriately. And when we do receive something along that lines from a client, the first thing we do is reach out to the contact that we have, not the one that's listed in the email. So in a lot of cases, you'll have a spoofed director of accounting, director of technology, CEO, president. Hey, we've got to get a check out. You need to change the ACH information to this. And a lot of our admins don't want to rock the boat because, hey, president is asking me to make a change. I go through and make the change. Well, you requested it. It's not my fault.
Now, I do know a couple companies that happened to, and the poor clerk, the admin was just beside themselves
Yeah.
because they're like, I thought I was doing everything right. It's like, honey, do you really think that our company president would be sending this email? He doesn't even know where our bank account is. And I don't mean that in a totally unkind way, but that's not his function in the company.
But the thing is he's still the president of the
He
company.
still has his name's still on the building. So it's like, well, he asked me to do it. It's like, yeah, we're going to need a little coaching with you. So
It's a conversation I have with owners all the time. No matter what you say, your employees are going to drop what they're doing to make sure that you're happy. And if you say jump, they're not only going to start jumping, but they're not going to ask questions about why. And it's empowering them to ask those questions in the appropriate format. So not replying to the email and saying why, but calling the president and saying, hey, I just received this email from you. Is this legitimate? And we have had cases where individuals received those emails and they were sitting in the same office and turned around and said, I'm sitting right here. You didn't need to email this to me. And
it's like, are you
luckily,
serious? I'm sitting right here. You can't ask me.
we laugh about it, but that was only caught because they were sitting in the same room. If they had been remote that day, chances are that would have been perceived as a legitimate email and it would
Could
have
have been totally different.
and that would have had a much different outcome had that not happened. So having our administrators, our finance people, our credit overlords empowered to ask those questions and understand the processes to verify is crucially important.
Okay.
And that process needs to always be followed, which again comes back to training.
Oh, everything comes back to training.
There you
Okay.
go.
So this is something I've been dying to ask you because I know we're running a little long and we're going to wrap it up here.
Yeah.
But what are the top things I wish I knew before I get hacked comments that you've heard over the years?
All of them are the same.
So it's always one solid comment. Oh, that was the worst.
Well, it all comes back to it. When most people get hacked, there's a specific reason. 80% of it is bad passwords. Verizon's latest study, and we referenced this in the article I talked about earlier, 80% of attacks start with a bad password. So
Well, that's really sad news for a lot of us because
and here's the wonderful thing about bad passwords. Bad passwords will always exist, but if you have MFA enabled and set up appropriately, that's going to increase or decrease your chances of getting breached by an order of magnitude that's pretty high. Because now not only do they need to know your password, they need to compromise your MFA. And
okay.
sadly, there are ways to do that, specifically with SMS authentication. Those codes can be caught in transition.
Okay.
We prefer one-time passcodes and computer-to-computer codes that are transitioned, so I don't control the code. One device prompts me, and I have to enter a number on my other device because those things ensure that the systems are communicating with each other and it's not an individual that's entering it into another system. So, for example, if I gave you my passcode, my SMS texted authenticator message, you could enter it into a system and get access if you had my password. And that's how a man in the middle attack works: is you
Okay.
pretend to be me, you log into my account, and then you prompt me for my code. I enter my code thinking I'm logging into my account, and I'm giving it to you to log into my actual account.
Nice.
And
So,
that's where the start.
well, so
But
here's
password
what
is
I
the
hear,
found.
Joe. I hear that it's like now we have so much to think about, and we've taken already paranoid people, because credit people tend to be super paranoid anyway, where we're like, everybody's out to get us, everybody's out to not pay me. You're a good guy today, but you're a good payer today, but you might not be a good payer tomorrow. And now you've just like dumped the steroid version of that on top of us. So if you were to give
Yeah,
one piece of advice to credit professionals listening, where to start, where if they're sitting here going, I don't even know where to start, I feel so overwhelmed, what would be one thing you could say, here's something that you could do right now? And I have a feeling I know what you're going to say, but go for
secure
it.
your password.
Yes.
Go through, and it's funny, when we first adopted password managers back, oh gosh, it's got to be 5 or 7 years ago now. It took me the better part of a weekend to get all of my passwords updated and into the system. But once I did that, I've got now somewhere between 500 and 700 passwords in my password manager. We've moved password managers as technology has changed. There's better methods out there. Some password managers are better than others. I don't believe in Google autofill or any of the autofills. Autofill is not a password manager. If you're not asked to provide credentials to access that information, but it's being smart about our information. Have a strong password. Have your computer lock. Have your browser sign out of your sessions when you close it. All of those things create a more secure environment that will help protect you along the way. One of my favorite things to show is how easy it is to get your credentials if you're using autofill. It takes me about 15 seconds to pull up a bank website and to see what your credentials you're entering in there just by changing a little snippet of code that's part of that browser. And
You're really bringing me down, Joe. I don't know
I'm
why I
sorry,
invited you here today.
it's it's
Thanks for
it's hard.
I'm like, almost, it's like, here's my wrists, I'm just gonna go.
We're the people that are just as feared to talk to as HR. So when security comes over to you, when your IT comes over to you and says we need to talk, there's typically a problem and you're doing something wrong. My goal is to educate, to ensure that we're getting best practices out there and ensure that we're creating a culture that examines these things before we just jump in. You don't leave your doors unlocked and your windows unlocked when you leave. You close those things up, you lock them. We need to do the same thing for our networks. We need to
You have
lock
to
our
stop moving that
computers.
key under the rock.
We need to create strong keys so that people can't just break in. We need to do the things that we would do normally, just apply it to a scenario of a computer.
Well, so people, if they want to get a hold of you, Joe, how can they?
They can go to our website. I've got a Let's Talk button, so they can easily go to archetypesc.com, log in, click Let's Talk, or schedule a meeting, and they can select me from that or any one of my amazing team members that can help provide solutions for them. They can call me anytime they want. I can give my phone number to you right now, 843-283-7200. I'm happy to take calls.
We'll
Scheduling
also link
meetings.
all that below too, Joe. So you guys don't
Perfect.
have to remember, if you're driving or something, please don't hurt yourself trying to write anything down. It'll be linked below.
Absolutely. I'll send you a link for directly to my calendar where individuals can book and learn more. And I'm happy to talk with individuals about anything they've got going on in cybersecurity and network and application development. And all
I'm glad you clarified that, where you're like, hey, just, whatever's going on in your life,
yeah,
what's
whatever's going on.
bothering you that you're this stressed out, I'll, just no, keep it to cybersecurity and tech.
Well, and there's an approach to this that I think managers need to learn. You can't just tell people they need to do something. You need to support them and understand their situation, and approach it from a point of love.
So
Uh,
do more better is not like tech coaching, is not
no, no,
cybersecurity coaching. Good to know. It's
it's
like, do more
the
better, man. Read stuff more thoroughly. What's wrong with you?
it's interesting. We had an airport that we work with that implemented a program where they provided gift cards to individuals that reported incidents, security incidents. So, and it was a hugely successful implementation. They gave out about $1,500 in gift cards, none larger than, I want to say, $25. But what it did was it made it top of mind for individuals. It made it that they knew what they needed to do to report, they knew what they needed to have, and it was a simple and cost effective way for the airport to roll out the program. So, thinking about things like that, how do you reward your employees for doing things great? This is one of the ways that you can. And
Yeah,
it's
that's a whole
not
new
expensive.
spin on see something, say something. It's like, oh, good, and I get,
Yeah.
I get gift cards. This is so great. But
And it's one of those things. So, an easy one to do is you get entered into a drawing every month for every incident that you report, every email that you report, all the things. Most of our friends in the client space, when they see a spam message, they delete it, which is wonderful. But what's even better is reporting it. So that we can do better as IT professionals, tuning your systems to catch those messages before they get to you. And there's wonderful technology that's going to help with business email compromise, where it's telling you what's going on in the email and why it's a bad email. And those things are coming, but they only work as well as the person tuning that system and reporting the messages. And again, if you click on something, there's not much we can do about that.
yeah, hitting the off button really fast does
Yes.
not. It's like, oh crap. Well,
But
Joe,
if you do click on something, say something. The sooner you say something, the quicker we can take action and investigate and remediate.
yeah, nobody wants to be that person that's like, I didn't think it was important. But Joe, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're super busy. I love that you were able to come and join us this week. And thanks to the whole LBM community for spending another Tuesday with us. And you have arrived at the place for practical strategies for navigating trade credit in the LBM space. And you can find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, any day of the week. And new episodes come out every other Tuesday. And if you can't get enough and you miss us in between, you can check out the back episodes. They're available in the usual places. And in between, you can catch my friend and producer, Sally Lacey, on LBM Talks social media on the weeks that you miss me. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Joe, for hanging out with us for an hour and, making credit look so much better compared to cybersecurity.
You're very welcome, Thea. I appreciate your time today, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day.